I was on my way to my son's house for dinner when my lawyer called me and said,
"Sir, don't go anywhere. We need to talk. Now."
The tone in his voice was unusual. Tight, urgent, the kind of tone lawyers use only when something has gone terribly wrong or terribly right. But at that moment, I didn't know which one it was. I remember gripping the steering wheel a little tighter. The sun was setting over the quiet streets of Maplewood, a small American suburb I had lived in for 25 years. It was supposed to be a peaceful evening: baked chicken, my son's laughter, and my daughter-in-law's warm smile. But life has a strange way of interrupting peace right when you think you've earned it. "Is everything all right?"
I asked. There was a pause, a long one. "Sir, please pull over. This is important." So I did. I pulled my car to the side of the road near an old oak tree that had stood on Brookline Avenue since before I was born. I rolled down the window, let the evening breeze touch my face, and waited for him to speak. When he did, his words cut through the air like a slow, cold knife. "Your property, the one you gave your son and his wife under your trust, they've filed a legal request to remove you as a beneficiary. They're trying to take full ownership. And the documents were submitted by someone you know. Someone you trusted." I didn't speak. I didn't curse. I didn't even sigh. Life had taught me something long ago: silence is the first step toward powerful action. I believed my son loved me. I believed families stayed together, even when life grew complicated. But betrayal rarely comes from strangers. It is the people closest to us who carry the deepest knives. And that night, without even knowing it, I entered a quiet war. A war I had no intention of losing. My name is William Hartman, though most people simply call me Will. I'm a 62-year-old retired construction manager who spent his life building homes for other people and losing mine, piece by piece, without even realizing it. I'm a widower. My wife, Margaret, passed away 6 years ago from a heart condition. After her death, my son Nathan became the closest family I had left. He had married young, to a woman named Laura, who always treated me politely, even kindly at times. Though I always felt her smile carried a distance, something that never fully warmed. But I accepted her. I accepted everything. When you get older, you cling to the little family you have left. A year before all this happened, I had transferred a small property, a duplex I had purchased decades ago, into a family trust. The idea was simple. One side for me to live in. The other side for them, or for rental income they could use. I wanted to leave something behind. Something solid. Something that would help my son long after I was gone. Nathan thanked me. Laura smiled bigger than I had ever seen her smile. I thought I was doing the right thing. We had dinners together, Sunday barbecues, Christmas mornings. I helped them renovate their kitchen. I babysat their daughter whenever they needed. I tried, truly tried, to be the kind of father and grandfather my wife would have been proud of. Everything felt stable. Everything felt warm. Until the warmth quietly disappeared. It started with small signs: canceled dinners, shorter conversations, missed calls. Laura became distant, and my son followed without even realizing it. Still, I didn't imagine betrayal. Not until that phone call. Not until the lawyer's voice said the words I never expected to hear. I drove to my lawyer's office with a calmness that felt unnatural, almost rehearsed. My mind didn't scream or rage. It simply observed, like a man standing on the shore watching a storm that has already begun. When I walked in, my lawyer, Michael, handed me the documents. "They filed this last week," he said, tapping the papers gently. "A petition to transfer full ownership of the property to them. They claim you are no longer mentally or physically capable of managing your part." I raised an eyebrow. Mentally incapable? They've seen me handle my own business every day. Michael nodded. "Which is why this is so strange. Someone helped them prepare this. Someone who knows your finances, your trust details, your health records." Then he slid another paper toward me. And when I saw the signature,
everything inside me went very still. It wasn't my son's handwriting. It wasn't Laura's. It was my brother, Daniel. A man I had trusted with legal decisions since Margaret died. A man who had owed me money for years. A man who always complained that I had too much and he had too little.
He had helped them.
He had signed as their witness. He had certified statements claiming I was forgetful, confused, unfit.
All lies.
I remember leaning back in the chair, staring at the ceiling for a long moment. Michael asked softly, "Are you angry?"
"No," I said.
"Just disappointed."
And that was the truth. Anger burns fast. Disappointment lingers.
Michael explained the situation carefully. They want you removed from the trust. Full ownership transferred to your son and his wife. You would lose your residence. You would lose the rental income.
You would lose visitation rights.
Essentially, they want you out.
I nodded slowly. So this was the prize.
This was the hidden hunger behind the smiles, the softened words, the carefully polite conversations. But here's something life taught me long ago. When people show you who they are, you don't fight them.
You don't shout.
You don't break plates and slam doors.
You step back. You watch. You learn. And then, you act.
I asked Michael one question.
Can we stop them?
He smiled faintly.
Stop them?
Will, we can do more than that. If you let me handle this quietly and strategically, we can let their own actions trap them.
Good, I said.
Let them walk into their own hole.
So we made a plan. Not a vengeful plan. A logical one. A patient one.
Because the best revenge isn't about hurting people. It's about letting them reveal their own truth, and letting that truth destroy their illusions. The next weeks were strangely calm.
Nathan didn't call.
Laura sent a few cold texts. My brother avoided me completely. But silence is never empty. It carries meaning. And I understood exactly what it meant.
2 weeks later, Michael called again.
Will, he said, they filed an amendment. There's more. I went to his office immediately, this time with a steadier heart. They're pushing harder, he said. Their lawyer submitted evidence claiming you have memory lapses. That you can't manage finances. That you gave the property without understanding the consequences. I let out a slow breath. Not anger. Not sadness. Just clarity.
They think I'm weak, I said. Michael nodded.
And because they think that, they're sloppy. Then he showed me the gift my betrayal had handed me, unintentionally, of course. Laura had submitted false statements. Nathan had signed documents with contradictory dates. Daniel had included an unverified medical note, written by a doctor who had never met me.
All mistakes. All illegal. All traceable. Do we strike? I asked. No, he said. We wait.
Wait for what? For the hearing.
Let them speak. Let them lie.
Let them think they're winning. The judge will see everything. And so I waited. On the day of the hearing, I entered the courtroom quietly. Nathan didn't look at me.
Laura looked triumphant.
Daniel looked nervous but tried to hide it. Pretending confidence is difficult when you've built it on a rotten foundation. Their lawyer spoke first, presenting me as an aging, confused man who made emotional decisions he shouldn't be held responsible for. I kept my eyes on Nathan. I wanted to see if he believed those words or if he was simply repeating what he had been told. But his expression didn't show guilt.
It showed justification.
He had convinced himself that this betrayal was survival. That taking from me was protecting his own family. People do terrible things when they convince themselves it's necessary.
Then Michael stood up. Soft voice. Calm tone.
No theatrics. Your Honor, he said, before I present our defense, I would like the petitioners to speak. In their own words. And that was the moment everything changed. Because people who lie always reveal more than they intend to when they feel confident.
Laura spoke first, too loud, too eager, too polished.
She described me as forgetful, stubborn, incapable. Then she made a mistake. She said I had forgotten my granddaughter's birthday.
But I hadn't.
I was the one who planned the entire party.
Next, Daniel spoke.
He claimed I had asked him for legal help because I was overwhelmed. Michael let him finish. Then he brought out the evidence. Every message, every email, every signed paper showing I had handled my affairs perfectly. Then he showed the judge the false medical note. The doctor testified via phone that he had never met me.
The courtroom shifted. Laura swallowed hard.
Nathan's face went pale. Daniel began sweating. And then Michael spoke the final blow. Your Honor, if the petitioners succeed, Mr. Hartman would lose his home. He would lose the rental income he relies on. He would lose everything he built for himself, not because he is unfit, but because the petitioners wish to gain full ownership. This is not protection. This is exploitation. Silence filled the room. Even the judge leaned forward. And Nathan, my son, finally looked at me. But this time, his eyes carried something new.
Fear. Not of me. Of the truth.
A truth he could no longer hide from. The judge's ruling came 2 weeks later, and it was written with the clarity of a mountain stream.
The petition was dismissed.
My son and his wife were removed as trustees. I was restored as the full owner of the property. And due to their fraudulent behavior, they were legally blocked from making claims on it for the next 15 years. As for Daniel, he faced penalties from the state bar for his involvement.
It was over.
Justice had unfolded not through anger,
but through patience. I didn't celebrate. I didn't smile.
I simply felt a deep, quiet relief. A few days later, Nathan came to see me. He stood on my porch with his hands shaking.
Dad. I'm sorry, he said. I was stupid.
I let Laura push me. I thought you'd be okay. I thought you didn't need the property. I looked at him for a long moment. You didn't ask, I said softly. He lowered his head.
I know. I didn't yell. I didn't scold.
I didn't make him beg. Because forgiveness is not a gift for the other person. It is a release for yourself. I forgive you, I said. But forgiveness doesn't erase consequences. You'll need to rebuild trust.
Slowly.
He nodded, tears in his eyes. We talked for an hour. Not about legal matters, about life, mistakes, pride, and the heavy cost of listening to the wrong people. Laura never apologized. She blamed everyone except herself. Eventually, she and Nathan separated. People like her can't stay where accountability lives. As for me, I moved back into my home. The same place my wife and I built with our hands, one wall at a time. Justice had returned what was mine. But revenge was not the victory.
Wisdom was.
Life moves quietly after a storm. I went back to my routines, morning coffee, tending to the small garden behind the duplex, helping neighbors with small repairs. I enjoyed my evenings alone, listening to soft music, sometimes reading the old love letters Margaret wrote me. My son visits now. Not often, but honestly. He comes alone, sometimes with his daughter. We grill together, talk about work, laugh about small things.
Trust takes time.
But time has always been a patient friend of mine. My brother Daniel never spoke to me again. He moved out of state after losing his credibility. I hold no anger toward him either. Anger binds you to people long after you should have let them go. One evening, sitting on my porch, watching the sky turn orange, I realized something. I didn't lose anything in this battle. I gained clarity.
I gained peace.
I gained the reminder that even when others betray you, you do not need to betray yourself. Quiet revenge isn't about hurting anyone. It's about standing so calmly, so firmly, that their attempts to break you only reveal their own cracks. And sometimes, the most powerful sentence you can ever say is simply,
No.
I am not what you say I am. I learned that day that life doesn't require us to fight loudly. It requires us to fight wisely. Not with anger.
With truth. With patience. With dignity.
And I'll tell you this, the same way an old man once told me when I was young. Sometimes silence is the best revenge. Because silence makes people hear their own actions. And hearing their own actions is the loudest lesson they will ever receive.